Hi and welcome to the channel. Now today's video is about this SONY TA-70 amplifier. Come out in about 1972 to 76 thereabouts, and when you bought this you may have got the matching tuner, which I've managed to get hold of as well, even though it doesn't look much of a tuner at the moment because it's in bits. The actual front panel just comes off at the moment because it wasn't working when I got it. The bloke who sold it said it was non-working, the tuner. Just put that down there so I don't break that. But it was just a fuse, but I've been waiting ages for this fuse. It hasn't turned up yet. I don't want to put a bit of silver paper. Don't ever do that. Make sure you get the correct fuse, the correct milliamps of that fuse, etc. Don't start putting silver paper like I've seen a couple of times on the few bits I bought on the plug, especially the plug, silver paper around the fuse. Don't ever do that. You're going to cause yourself nothing but grief, harm and fires even. So no, don't overstate it, but be very careful. Don't start putting silver paper. Get the correct fuse. Just be patient. But I wanted to put the video together. We're not reviewing the tuner. I'm going to be reviewing the amplifier, but this is what they look like when they're both set up on a bench or somewhere on the sideboard or something like that. So they look quite nice when they're both on the lights on, etc. It looks quite nice. They're quite dinky together. This is a bottom of the range. This was bottom of the range when Sony brought it out, and this was rated at 15 watts a channel. Just want to show you around the back, a quick picture at the back so you can see all the connections there. You can work them all out yourself. If we come along the front, we've got our speakers here, remote and main, so you can have two sets of speakers. They can't both be on at once, but you can have one or the other. By the way, this is rated at 15 watts a channel as well. Just want to mention that 15 watts a channel this was rated at 2% distortion. So that would put a lot of people off, especially these days. 2% distortion would be a massive amount of distortion. People would think, a lot of people are looking at 0.0001 or 0.05 or something like that. Very low distortion these days. But back then 2%, and now, like I say, you'll be looking at anything and we'll stay well clear of that. But let me talk about it as we go along anyway. So we've got our speakers, like I say, remote or main, auxiliary, tuner, phono, and the phono's got ceramic as well as, not moving magnet, I'm trying to think what it was, as well. Right, we've got a monitor, tape monitor here for tape, we've got a mode, mono, stereo, eye filter there, loudness, bass, treble, balance, volume. We've got a little headphone socket here, and we've got a little rocker on and off switch. Now it's not plugged in. It's pretty pointless when you plug it in because you're not going to see anything. I'm going to flick that switch and nothing's going to happen. What should happen, a little light should light up there, but the bulb's gone here, and it's a 4.5 volt bulb as far as I know, a little mini one I think. So when I come to take it apart, I'm probably going to have a look at that bulb and replace that. Okay, so this cost, now I bought this locally-ish because we're thinking about, we look after our granddaughter every now and again now. It's a bit more regular these days, so hence I'm doing less videos. I've got a few bits and pieces, health-wise, nothing too serious, but my foot's playing me up, this, that and the other. So I've kind of come back now. I'm not going to do many more hi-fi videos. May put a few other bits and pieces up. I've kind of not lost interest, but just want to give myself something else to do kind of thing and not sit here looking at the PC every 5 seconds. But this was localish. We've taken our granddaughter to the zoo. Culture's the zoo in the UK. I don't know if anyone's been there here in the UK, but it's a great little zoo. We spent 2 or 3 hours in there and about another half hour trying to get out. The exit signs were diabolical, I think. Couldn't find our way out. Unbelievable. We got out. I'm back here. We got out eventually. Anyway, but other than that, it was a great zoo. This was kind of on the way. This weren't far away. So it'd been sitting on eBay. It'd been on there about 4 or 5 times. The bloke had it up. And no one bought it. It was a collection only for £10. This and the tuner. Like I say, the tuner wasn't working at the time. But for £10, I'm going in that direction. It's something I weren't looking at, let's put it that way. But as it kind of come up, I thought I'll go and get that. I picked it up, and it was a matter of interest because it's quite nice looking. It's like a very mini, like a mini kind of version of an amplifier. It's quite cute. And once you've got the tuner as well, they look quite nice together. Like, you know, they've got this retro kind of look, this 70s kind of look, and they're a bit like a mini version really of a big size amplifier, a bit like they're bringing out these mini game consoles, a bit like that, obviously not as small, but kind of in that direction. So I thought it'd be interesting to see what it sounded like. Was it any good? Was it just going to be one of these basic, very cheap kind of amplifiers put together, etc.? So a matter of interest really. So anyway, I've got it here, and it all works, like I say, no problems at all. So how did it sound? Now, I think I've covered everything else before I got into the sound. Yeah, just make sure I'm not seeing anything out. No, okay, right, this amplifier is rated at 15 watts. And these 15 watts are a pretty laid back 15 watts really. When you know, someone said to you how many watts is this and you said it's 15, they think, yeah, it probably is about 15, that's about it. That's about as far as it goes. Like, if you say that with the Sansui AU101 I got, them 15 watts or a big 15 watts, and you come to say, what is that? People say 30, 40 watts, that kind of, it's kind of giving that more grunt, that more power. This is a more of a laid back amplifier here. So that's the first thing you're going to notice here. It's a laid back kind of sound, and you have to kind of wiggle this volume to a reasonable kind of level. You've got to give it a halfway really to get some kind of, get some grunt out of it, to kind of liven it up kind of thing, because it's quite a relaxing, laid back kind of sound. But you know, if I go start off at the top end was quite detailed, quite nice top end. The meter was okay, the meter was pretty good in that. The bottom end was a little bit lacking in the bass really, a little bit lacking in the bass. This amplifier lacks a bit of resolution, a bit of detail. It's got a reasonable amount of detail, just lacks a bit, you know, could do with a bit more detail, but don't forget, this is what we're expecting really. In fact, this sounds a lot better than what I was expecting to be. So I weren't really going to think this, I thought this is going to be pretty mediocre, this is going to be like an entry level, very basic indeed, being small and all that, but it's quite, you know, pleasantly surprised with this. This is like an amplifier that does nothing wrong. It doesn't matter what you do, it's not going to do anything wrong. There's no harshness to it. It's an amplifier you can listen to all day long. One of them kind of amplifiers. It's got that nice sound to it. May not have the most detail in the world. May not have much punch. May not have a lot of guts. Hasn't really got any three-dimensional to it. Everything was kind of set back. There's nothing coming out into the room. You know, it's quite a 2D kind of sounding amplifier. Had a bit of space between all the instruments and that. It had some space between the instruments, was set out quite nicely. But it wasn't nowhere near as spatial around the instruments and vocals as the SONY 101 is. Didn't have the three-dimension and didn't have that kind of tube kind of sound, that kind of like, you could kind of imagine it coming from the actual tubes themselves. But it has quite a reasonable sound. It's quite a nice sound. It was okay, you know, when I say okay, it was pretty good. It was pretty good really for what it is. Don't expect too much out of it, like I say. You have to kind of wiggle this volume. Then once you get it over halfway, to get a bit of loudness into it, to get a bit of kick into it, to get a bit of oomph into it, it kind of livened up, had a bit more dynamic to it. With the volume a bit lower, the dynamics weren't really there. It's kind of like just, I'm doing enough, that's it. You're not going to get much more out of me kind of thing. At lower volumes this is, but once you turn it up, it kind of sprung into action a little bit. It didn't go mad, but it kind of sprung into action a little bit more. Kind of gives it a bit, like I say, a bit more dynamics, that kind of thing. But really, this is a steady Eddie amplifier. Sony made this where if you bought this, you're going to think, well, this sounds pretty good. You know, this doesn't sound too bad at all for an entry level. Their other stuff must be pretty good kind of thing. It's going to get you on that kind of step ladder to going up the range and seeing what else they're going to get you interested. It's going to get you interested. This amplifier does nothing wrong whatsoever. There's nothing wrong with this amplifier. Like I say, it doesn't matter how far you push that volume. It doesn't start losing its way. It can't lose its way. It's like it's got like a schoolboy being told what to do, and he's going to obey all them instructions. He's not going to go rogue or do anything wrong. He's going to do everything as you say, kind of thing. He's very polite. He's easygoing kind of thing, and that's what this is. This amplifier would be great. Everything was held well together. I just want to make sure I don't miss any notes out here. Yeah, just like I got here, just missing some space around the instruments and a certain amount, but you would want some more. But this is entry level. This is entry level. The sax had a good amount of texture when pushed at higher volumes. To get that that dynamics and that kind of stuff of the sax, the piano, the violin, and that. You had to kind of crank this up. Otherwise, it was just a bit laid back. Lower volumes, a bit too laid back. It's quite interesting to how far you have to push this. You know, we're nearly getting this like halfway kind of thing to get some grunt out of it. Whether if I had that Sansui halfway, I wouldn't be able to have it that loud in this room. I just wouldn't be able to do it. It'd be far too loud. Well, this here was just kind of kicking in kind of thing. So yeah, you know, everything's all well together. Polite, doesn't do anything wrong. To get the dynamics going, need to get it on higher volumes. I think I've pretty much covered everything there. So yeah, this is a great amp. Don't expect you're not going to have a party with this amp or anything like that. This amp here is a second room amp. It's a small bedroom amp. If you've got a small bedroom, like I say, it's just lacking a little bit of detail, but it's still there kind of thing. When you compare it to the Sansui 101, but it's still good enough. It's still good enough. Don't get me wrong. So I definitely recommend this amplifier if you're looking at this. You know, I recommend it. I won't go too, you know, don't spend too much on it. This is like really, like I say, a second room kind of amplifier, study, or a room where you go back and have a few card games, or you may have a few board games. You have some people over for the evening, that kind of thing, and you want a bit of music in the background, you can have this on, I don't know, number 3, but it hasn't got no numbers, but about number 3 is rather a normal amplifier. You wouldn't have it too loud, just mellowing in the background. It's not going to do anything wrong, it's going to sound nice. People think, well, this sounds pretty good, this sounds pretty nice. This is what this amplifier is. It's not going to be some party. A little bit in the bass, so if you had a little pair of speakers, for instance my little Wolfdales I had it with, you will notice the bass is a bit lacking. If you've got some bigger speakers, which I did connect up, my Solarvox TK50s have got 2 8-inch bass drivers kind of thing, then it gives, you know, a reasonable amount of bass, nothing punchy or big, but enough kind of thing. Yeah, so that's it really. You know, if you turn, one thing I do like with amplifiers, and this particular one, and I've got another one coming up as well that I've managed to get hold of, is that I like when I turn this treble full on, it doesn't get spurious, it doesn't get too much, it doesn't get like edgy, harsh or anything like that. It kind of keeps it nice, keeps it under control, and that's what this amplifier does here with the bass and treble. Obviously the treble don't go harsh, the bass don't go harsh and spiky, but it keeps everything in control kind of thing. You're not over pushing it, they're not trying to give you too much which isn't there kind of thing. It just does everything nice. So that's what this amplifier is. It's an amplifier that you're not going to get massive volumes out of, but it's like, you can have that nice look. If you get this, get the tuner as well, match them up kind of thing, because then it just gives it's a little bit of a talking point as well. People are going to see that and they say they look quite nice together. That's quite a nice 70s kind of retro kind of look, and it gives a reasonable amount of decent sound out of it as well. Like I say, don't overpay. I've seen some on eBay for, in America, and that $1,000 and all that kind of stuff. You know, realistically, if you bought the pair together for about 100 quid or something like that, I think you're going to be pretty pleased with the pair. If you've got the tuner and the amplifier for about 100 quid thereabouts, I think you're going to be pretty pleased with it. Don't expect too much, but it's ideal as a second, like I say, a second room, a second bit of hi-fi, just to have mellowing in the background. So that's it. I think I've pretty much wrapped it up. I've gone over it quite a few times of how it sounds, and that soundstage was pretty good, quite 2D-ish. Not much 3D going on, but a reasonable amount of space between the instruments, but you would want more. As soon as you put another amplifier on, you do notice a difference, but all in all, not a bad little amplifier. So that's it, that's the SONY TA-70. I've rattled on a bit more. I managed to pick up one other amplifier, which I'll do a review on as soon as possible. Absolutely filthy inside, but I'll give that a clean. Another day, I'll just review it as is, I think. Until then, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.